Hi everyone, I'm Vicky, thank you for watching. So if you saw one of my previous videos where I was reacting to some new makeup releases, you might have noticed that when I was talking about the Wild West palette, this was a palette that I was really intrigued by and I wanted to see if I could dupe it from eyeshadows in my existing collection. And that's what I'm going to be doing in today's video. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see if this is a palette that can be easily duped or whether some of the colours like that shimmery silver, a couple of those teals are so unique that I do have to get them from that Wild West palette. So let's have a look and actually see if I can dupe this eyeshadow palette from colours that I already own. Okay, so here are my swatches. Now I've managed to only use 6 eyeshadow palettes of mine, which is pretty good. So if we start off with the first shade here, down at the bottom, called Standoff. I'm not sure how well you can see that. It's not swatching too strongly on my wrist. It is stronger on my eyes, however. Now with these more warm toned mattes, the browns, maybe some of the gold shimmers, I have heard from someone's video, I can't remember which video it was because I saw a lot, that if you own the Naked Heat palette, you should be able to dupe quite a few of those shades that are in the Wild West palette. And this lighter shade here does come from the Naked Heat palette, and this is the shade called Chaser, and Chaser is the second lightest shade in the Naked Heat palette, and this is the matte ivory, and I feel like this one matches quite well with Standoff. The next shade is from the Soap Revolution Extra Spice palette, and this is in the shade Running Late, and it's just a matte vibrant orange. And I feel like this is a pretty good dupe for Spur from the Wild West palette. I feel like I've matched that one pretty well. The third shade comes again from the Naked Heat palette, and this is in the shade Sourced, and this is a match for Nudie in the Wild West palette, and again I feel like this one has matched pretty well. This one here is from the Soap Revolution palette, the first one, and this is in the shade Sparks Fly. And I feel like this is quite a good dupe again for Hold'em. I have quite a lot of these types of colours, the golds, the browns and some shimmers, so even if this one isn't an exact match, I feel like it's not far off. Another Soph one, this is the Extra Spice one again, and this is in the shade Infinity, and this is a true vibrant silver, a shimmery silver. Now this shade Cowboy Rick from the Wild West palette, it is a touch more purple, so this isn't an exact dupe, but again it's not far off, but it is the best I can do from the ones that I have in my collection. This shade here is from my Estee Lauder Night palette. It is this shade here. Next one here, this vibrant shimmer. Now this is Makeup Geek Pegasus and it's a beautiful shade, however Bud from the Wild West palette is more turquoise, it has more green to it, so this isn't an exact dupe, but it's pretty close. Ideally a touch more green in this, but regardless, Pegasus is just a gorgeous colour. Smoky Bronze from the Soap Revolution palette is a near enough dupe for Rustler, it's pretty close. Another Soap shade Extra Spice palette in Chocolate Orange, and this is the closest I could get for Ghost Town in the Wild West palette. Ideally this would be more vibrant, more of a burnt orange, but it is as close as I can get. It's not far off. Again, another Soph shade, this is Mug Cake, and it's pretty close to Whiskey. Again, ideally a bit more pigmented, but not far off. Now this isn't a dupe for Tex, this is from the Estee Lauder Night palette, and I don't have a matte dark teal. This is more of a blue shade, so this is the one that's probably the least like any of the other colours in the palette, but again it's the closest I could kind of get. So that's actually a shade I don't own in my collection then, is that dark matte teal colour. And this is from the Soap Extra Spice palette, this is Lakes, and I found this shade in particular really difficult to swatch. I looked at that shade and thought, yeah, I've got loads of shades that can dupe that, whereas in actual fact this was probably really difficult to swatch. So overall I feel like I've got some pretty good dupes for that Wild West palette. However, the ones that aren't exact are this silver shade, ideally it would have a little bit more purple in. This Makeup Geek shade in Pegasus, again ideally would be a little bit more green, a little bit like that sea foam green colour. And then this dark blue here from one of my Estee Lauder palettes isn't a teal, so this is probably the weakest one. And I feel like these sort of brown shades, these smoky bronze colours, are probably the closest, in particular these 4 ones here. But overall, not too bad. I feel like I've done a pretty good job in trying to dupe the Wild West palette. Okay, so there we go. Those were my dupes for the Wild West palette. Now I'm going to refer to this picture on my phone here when I talk through the shades because I just can't remember them all. But I think some shades that were really easy to dupe were Standoff, Spur, Nudie and Hold'em, the first 4 shades in the collection. Those are pretty standard shades that you're going to get in most palettes, to be honest. They are sort of your classic ivory shades, your sort of muted oranges, your browns, shimmery gold. I have plenty of those shades, so I did have a few to choose from. Now Laredo, Ghost Town, Whiskey and Pony Up were a little bit more difficult to dupe. I thought I could be able to dupe those ones pretty well, but actually they were that little bit more difficult, in particular Pony Up, which is like a warm slate grey. It's a bit of a tricky shade to try and dupe exactly. And the ones that I weren't able to dupe exactly were Cowboy Rick, that shimmery silver, that has a little bit of a purpley grey undertone to it. And the silvers that I own are more vibrant silvers, more grey silvers. Bud was also quite difficult to swatch. The shade that I chose was Makeup Geek Pegasus, and that is more of just a vibrant shimmery blue. But Bud has a bit of a green to it, a bit of a turquoise base, which I don't own. And also Tex as well, like a dark teal. I had blues and I had greens, but I didn't have anything that was teal, and particularly a dark teal, so that was also quite a difficult one to dupe. So overall, I feel like once I'm off my no buy, I don't need to be buying this palette. I think with all the bronzes and the oranges and the golds, the beiges within that Wild West palette, I have pretty similar shades in my collection, and those are shades that I tend to wear above all other colours, so I definitely don't need to be buying any more of those shades. However, that silver, the dark teal and Bud, those are ones that I don't have exact colours for. However, the shades that I included as a kind of a suitable dupe for those colours, I think those will do me fine. They're also not colours that I wear that often. I don't really tend to go for sort of silvers or teals. I do really like them, but like I say, the kind of smoky bronzes and the oranges and the golds, those are ones I wear more on a day-to-day basis. So this video has actually helped me to realise that I don't need to go and buy that palette. I have similar shades already within my collection, so that is one that I can kind of take off my wish list. However, if you do own this palette, please do let me know what you think about it. I'd really love to hear your thoughts about it. So I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.